Hey viewers, once again it's time to do a little more work on Bob's motorcycle, a little more work on the cafe. As you can see in the background, my shop changed a little bit. That back wall is now insulated and OSB and painted white. It makes my shop look so much bigger. These shelves behind me here used to be about there. What I'm putting against this wall is the shelving like you would see it if you know what a Home Depot is, like a Home Depot for the pallet shelving, and I'll stack the finished bikes up on top. Not that high, more like about this high. Anyways, I'm going to do some wiring work on the bike and we'll see where we get. That went pretty decent. What I was working on there was wires from the starter solenoid down to the battery and the wire going to the starter. Got new ends on them. Got them routed down through there. It's not very clean inside here yet, but I got everything in there with all the wires. I'll get it all cleaned up. If it fits with all the wires, I'm sure once I get them trimmed down and everything, it'll be a lot cleaner and fit a lot better. So I got the new wires routed down, new one on the starter, and the one going down to the battery here is done. And then for now, I just ran the original ground to the original spot right here. That little bracket that it's on will come off, clean it up in there, so I got to find a new spot to find the ground for the battery. Do some work on the wires coming back, cut those down because those, before they get to the Molex plugs, are pretty long. So let me get cutting. Okay, so there's the wire length I cut out of between the Molex plug and, well, the ends where the fuses were. That's what those pieces right there are. What I end up using is a newer style fuse. I got the one-way gate here, the Molex plug, the diode, the one-way gate. Well, it is a one-way gate for electricity. I put it inside a shrink wrap so nothing gets touched on it. I'll put these in an accessible spot, but they're no longer stuck clear up in here with the electronics going forward into the headlight bucket. That'll make it a little bit more trimmed back. Now I just got to get all this wrapped up temporarily so I know where everything's supposed to sit, because when this teardown happens I have to wrap the entire wiring harness that I've shortened. So now this thing's been shortened from front to back. Next area to work on is I'll take some of the extra wire that's here, and instead of cutting it and completely shortening it, I put butt connectors on it, and then I'll pull them down inside this tube by slicing into the tube here. Just a small slice. What that allows me to do is pull light wires or wires forward, because I have, like, this one here is the high beam, this is the ground, this is low beam. Then I have the marker lights, which are the yellow or orange and white stripe, blue and white stripe, and the blinkers, which are solid blue and solid orange. So all that's in the headlight, on the back side of the headlight. So by bringing these into this tube and forward, I don't have to have wires come from clear back here and come back to the front. I can just tap into these, because it'll I'll have to rewrap this area into a kind of a T-point, and then it'll drop right into the back side of the headlight and look as clean as I can possibly get it without a bunch of wires running back and forth. Okay, Bob's here again. We're doing a little more work on the CX build. What these are, no, they don't mount there, but that's the headlight brackets. I just have them sitting here so you can see a little better. This is how the aftermarket headlight bracket mounts. I don't know if you can see that massive gap in that area. Anyways, it straps on, and you can kind of see the area around here, how wide it straps on. And you got three options for putting the rear strap piece on here. I just don't like how gappy that is. It just looks terrible. Yeah, put a light on there. You can totally see how much room is there. What I end up doing is I lay this part on a socket about the same size as the fork leg and bend this piece around, and then I cut this off except for this last hole here. So I cut it off right here, re-rounded it, and then I take and bend this around the same socket flatten it out in a new spot to where this curve, or where it straightens out right here. I straighten that out and then cut it off and drill a new hole. The end product looks a whole lot more fitting. You see how there's just not a massive amount of gap around that thing? So we're looking how these fit to the fork leg. Let's look at the other side from the top of that light now. Just a lot of gap around that thing. I got cables, wires, and everything in the way here. There we go. So there it is. That's what it looks like factory on the front side. And this is what it would look like around the back side. The one I've redone, pretty tight. Yeah, it knocks off some of the paint when you tighten it or squeeze it that much, but sand it down, repaint it, it looks a whole lot better in the end. Well, there's a small bit of customization. Okay, so well, the headlights mounted. We ended up going with the chrome brackets. Nice, good fitment on them. Also worked on the speedometer mount. Just used some angle iron down in here. There you go. Took the original mount that was part of the tachometer and speedometer mount. Can't really see it there. Cut it off the bracket and welded it to this angle iron. Mounted it up here where the ignition used to mount. Nice low profile, solid mount. Got the brakes hooked up, the brake caliper on. Got it all bled out, put the new master cylinder on. Need to work on the exhaust, obviously. The tail light needs to be put on and wired. Need to wire the brake switch. I was hoping to be able to mount it like I did for another build that I did. That one of my best friends and I bought him a CX for his birthday, and then I told him it would be a project for the two of us. Well, he wanted an enduro version of that last one I built. So we jacked it up a little bit, gave it much taller ground clearance. He hasn't pulled it all apart and done the pretty up and all the paint and all the scheme. He has the very first year Honda made the CR off-road CR500, and he also has the very last year. He's gone through and restored both of those and painted them and done the exact color scheme together. So that's what he's planning to do with this one. It ended up getting Pro Taper bars. All the instrument cluster is bone stock original. We just moved it up a little bit to make room for the headlight setup. Front fender is currently off. It's here because we need to pull the carbs apart, rejet those, because it doesn't run as good as my other 500 and as good as Bob's 500. Another upcoming project is I'm going to go back and revisit the Hell Cart. As fun as it is, it's kind of ridiculous to drive. I mean, that's a two-stroke, two-cylinder, 550cc jet ski motor. I can't keep the front end down. I can't get it to turn, and although it's a blast, it's really not realistic. I'm going to be putting on a 10-horse Briggs & Stratton single cylinder. It came off of a wood chipper. I strip it all down, build an exhaust for it, a little nicer air cleaner, pull the tank off, put a fuel pump on it to run off the original go-kart tank. But first, I've got to finish Bob's. Well, I'm going to cut it off here, and thanks for watching, and see you at the next chance.